operators are pretty much just used in arithmetic expressions. The plus sign, the minus sign, the asterisk, and the forward slash do what you think they do. Plus is addition. The hyphen is subtraction, which is minus. The asterisk is multiplication, and the forward slash is division. But there's also other operations that you might not have known at first glance. The percent symbol is called modulo, and it basically gives you the remainder that you would get if you divided the numbers from before, like that you put in there. So if you look at the right side of the slides, you can see print 3 modulo 2. It prints out 1 because when you divide 3 by 2, you're left with a remainder of 1. And that's basically what's put into your console. Now, the double asterisk is basically an exponent. So if you look at the right side, it says 3 to the power of 2. It prints out 9. And it's important to remember that these expressions follow PEMDAS, right? Here I've got an expression. Print 3 plus 4 double asterisk 2 divided by 2, right? As you can see, if we disregard order of operations here, we're going to get 3 plus 4 is 7, to the power of 2 is 49, divide that by 2, that's going to be 24.5, right? But as you can see, when we run the code, it outputs 11.0, right? That's because of PEMDAS, you're squaring 4, because you have double asterisk means an exponent. You get 16, divide that by 2, that's 8, add 3, you have 11. And this is a little examples just to demonstrate that it's important to remember, just like when you're doing real math, that PEMDAS is pretty much the number one thing you need to remember when you're doing like expressions like this.
And use parentheses, of course, right?
Oh yes, yes. And also remember, when you're working with numbers and other data types, do not use the quotes.
The quotes are only for text. Although you could put numbers inside quotes, but it would be treated as text, which we'll talk about this later.
Yes,
it's best not to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right now. Okay, now we're talking about variables, and variables are a very important concept in programming. If you're in computer science, not computer science, if you're in Algebra 1, then you've probably heard of variables. And the way I like to think of a variable is it's a box, practically. And in this box, you can store some data. And the data that you can store can be words, it can be numbers, it can be true and false values, and it can even be lists of more than one value. And when you're making a variable, the left side has to be where you name the variable. And basically, it can be any combination of alphanumeric characters, except it can't start with a number. So let me just open up the tutorial so I can show you an example. So I'm going to be creating something called my variable. And you can put a number at the end, but you just can't put a number as the first thing in the variable. And then, in order to set this variable to some value, you have to use the equals operator, or not operator, but a symbol. And you would put in some value. So we're putting the hello world text into the variable. We can also put numbers. We can also put true and false. We'll be talking about this stuff later on. But basically, well, when we're saying something equal to it, we're putting this value into the box. And then to get something out of the box, right, if you want to check it to see if it actually exists, you can just do print my variable. Then if you hit this, if you hit run, my variable 1, sorry, not my variable, you should see hello. And so basically what's happening here is you're putting the value into the box, and then here you're printing whatever is in that box. So that's why you're seeing hello on your screen. Now let's get back to this PowerPoint. You can also update variables. So like if you have something in the box, then what if you want to change it? So you can set it equal to a new value. So we could do my variable 1 equals world. So here we're taking hello out of the box and we're putting world into the box. And then if we do print my variable 1, we should say hello, and then on the next line, world. Because every time you run the print function, it prints it on a new line. It creates a new line. So that's how variables work. And you can have as many variables as you want in your code. You can have my variable 2, and we can set that equal to hi. I don't know. We can have we can name it whatever we want, and then we can set it equal to anything we want. And that's how variables work. And variables are useful when we want to create something that we can change later on in our program, and that's pretty much use of variables. We'll be using variables throughout our class, and in our examples we'll be using variables. And let's talk about some other stuff. Do variables have to be in a specific? Well, they could be anywhere in your code. They can be in the beginning, they could be at the end, they could be anywhere.
But where you reference them is important, because if
just
you're using
just make sure you don't define your variable. So okay, this is called defining your variable, and you can only print a variable after you defined it. So if I take this, if I put this before it and I run this, I'll get an error, because I'm trying to get the box, but the box doesn't exist yet. I only create the box here when I put hello into it. So you need to make sure you create your variables before you use them. That's the only criteria for variables.
You can't eat your cake before you make it.
That's true.
Well said.